What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back to Thrash Reviews, where yours truly, Thrash Maniac 99, continues to review upcoming hard rock and heavy metal albums in the calendar year of 2016, and today I'm reviewing an album that came out back at the end of April that I wanted to get to for so long, and finally I got to it. The newest release from British progressive metal band Haken, and the album's called AFFINITY. Haken, for those of you who don't know, in case you have been living under a damn rock, Haken is a London-based prog band that formed in 2007, and so far have released 4 albums. This is their 4th studio release, called AFFINITY, and their last record, The Mountain, caught a lot of people's attention in the prog music world, whether it be prog rock, prog metal, and Haken's always been one of those bands that sort of is a bridging point between both prog rock and prog metal, because while they have some softer toned tracks, they also have very heavy tracks, and they pretty much take a little bit of influence from bands such as Dream Theater, Porcupine Tree, Tool, and mix it all together with a little bit of that 7/8-string djent style guitar approach, even though djent isn't really a genre, it's just a guitar sound. And they kind of incorporate that, but not abusing that influence of bands like Meshuggah. So they combine all that as well as vocal rounds where all the members of the band sing a particular line together, reminiscing of bands from the 70s such as Gentle Giant, all combine it into their own unique take on prog metal and prog rock. So let's take a look and see how they are this time around. The first track I want to talk about is 1985, another track that's called 1985. First Carcass did it on Surgical Steel, then Kvelertak, which I'm pronouncing it right instead of Cleavertalk. I got hounded for that. They did a song called 1985 on their recent release, and now Haken's doing it. Kind of funny. But anyways, this track is a 9-minute tune, and it basically sounds like a song you heard in 1985. There's a lot of those kind of electronic elements that you would hear in groups from the 80s, such as the Cars, or even Electric Light Orchestra during that era. You hear a little bit of that in this tune, and it made for a very diverse song. And you have your soft moments, you have your electronic moments, and you have your heavy moments too. That's a cool thing with Haken, from what I heard from this album, being the first album I'm listening to from this band. It's impressed me how the level of musicianship within this group and the talented vocalist of the band really is showing. The vocalist, I forget his name at the moment, but he's got a great soft voice to him. So far, pretty good start. Next track I want to talk about, which was my favorite track of the album, The Architect. Longest song at nearly 16 minutes. Probably the most diverse track of the album. You get your, at times, electronic moments, at times symphonic moments, your soft moments, and your super heavy moments. And at one point, the singer actually growls for a few lines, kind of showcasing a little bit of that extreme side of prog metal in this track. So just based off of the fact not only is it a long tune, but it's very diverse, well put together, and it just pretty much is taking all the aspects of the previous 4 tracks, put them all into one. And honestly, this song should have been the closer, but hey, to have your longest song in the middle of the record is a pretty bold statement. Let's move on to the final track that I want to talk about, and that is Bound by Gravity, 9.5 minutes. And this song kind of reminds me of, if anybody out there remembers a group from the 80s called Toto, who had the song Africa, which was a big hit in the 80s. This song kind of has some of that tone and some of those kind of vocal sounds and that atmosphere of that song Africa by Toto, but it incorporates a lot more of that prog metal sensibility, and just made for an interesting closing track on what was a phenomenal album. So overall, not a bad song on this album top to bottom. It's showing that Haken is getting tighter with their songwriting, and the way they are constructing these songs is very, very diverse, very innovative for prog metal now, by mixing, like I said, all the elements of groups you would hear, such as Dream Theater, Porcupine Tree, Tool, but make it into their own by combining the vocal rounds of groups such as Gentle Giant, where all the members sing lines together, mixing in a little bit of that 7/8-string guitar sound, but also bringing in some of those electronic and symphonic elements into their sound, particularly on the song The Architect, and it just made for a very well-written, cohesive album. Overall, this was a monster of a record. If I were you, I'd go buy this album. This is a 96 out of 100. Phenomenal release from probably, in my opinion, one of the most innovative prog metal bands to come out in recent years. These guys, while they've only been making records for 6 years, they are really showing where this music can go into the future, and already I can tell they're influencing bands now. So, props to you, Haken. Hopefully your next release can actually, perhaps, be the album of the year, but this is definitely going to be a contender. We just gotta wait until December to really find out. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Peace out, and have a good Friday.